Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and today I want to try and answer a question that I get asked a lot lately, and that is, what camera should I buy? So you're new to photography and you're looking to get your very first big boy or big girl camera, and you're lost in the vast majority of options out there available all over the internet, all over all the stores. And today I'm going to try and at least help you make it easier to decide what camera is best for you. Now I can name a bunch of cameras at the top of my head, all different brands that offer all the best specs out there, but that doesn't always mean that that's going to be the best camera for you. Now, by no means am I the best photographer out there. I'm certainly no Peter McKinnon. Peter, if you're watching, big fan. We should collab someday. But this is how I think of it. This is the best way I chose the camera that I had got, that I've been using for a long time now. And this is the couple methods that I use. The two methods that I think about when choosing a new camera is, one, do I have a budget that I need to stick to? Or two, what are my ambitions going to be with this camera? Let's talk method one first, your budget. This method is probably the easiest to understand because your money is the one deciding factor here. Photography is no cheap hobby by any means, so you're really limited on options when you have a budget you have to follow. Let's say I have $1,000 that I'm budgeting myself to spend on gear. It's really easy to go onto Amazon or your local camera shop and browse all the available options for under $1,000. And typically, when you're limited to even $1,000, you're most likely looking towards beginner cameras. And that's totally fine, especially if you are a beginner. There's no sense in purchasing expensive equipment when you haven't even got your feet wet. So what I advise you to do, if you have a budget that you have to follow, is to go to your local camera shop or even Best Buy and look at all the available options they have within your price point. Play with the cameras, take practice shots with them. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands here. But get a feel for the cameras and how you like them. I know there's camera shops out there that even have the availability to let you rent their equipment for a certain price and let you get a feel of how everything works and whether you like that gear or not. A lot of cameras out there within $1,000 or less usually have the standard specs across the board. You're usually looking about 20 to 24 megapixels, video up to 1080p. Now let's talk method two. This is the method for a lot of more serious photographers, those who are willing to spend the money for what they want and what they know they're going to use for a long period of time. If you're new to photography, I still don't recommend spending a wad of cash on something big like the Canon 1DX Mark III, because you should still get a grasp and learn the basics of photography, of using cameras. If you guys want to see that video, Camera Basics 101, I don't know, let me know down in the comments. So with this method, you want to ask yourself, what am I going to be using the camera for? Do I strictly want to take still photos? Do I want to do a lot of videos? maybe I want to do both. Do I want to do a lot of vlogging? Do I want to do a lot of YouTube like this? Or maybe you want to do a little bit of everything. Once you figure this out, then you can start doing your window shopping and browsing and doing all your research for all the different cameras out there. Unfortunately, there's not a camera to necessarily rule them all. Cameras nowadays do a lot of different things. There's no bad camera anymore. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. Some cameras might be great at taking stills, but maybe not so good at video, or vice versa. One might have a super high megapixel count, but doesn't perform well in low light photography. These are the things you need to do your research on for yourself. Because unfortunately, I don't have every camera there is, and I can't show y'all, the goods and the bads and the pros and the cons about every single camera out there. Let's say you want to do landscape photography. You should probably get a camera that is a high megapixel count, maybe 25 or more, and pair that with a wide angle lens. Let's say you want to do portraits or even weddings, and I think a camera with 20 to 25 megapixels will look great. A lot of times if you're out running and gunning outside and the light, you start losing light a lot, that lower megapixel count will do great in the low light situations. Or let's say you want to start vlogging. Well, you might want to get a smaller camera with a flip out screen so you can see yourself like I'm doing right now, and maybe pair it with a wide angle lens. But let's say you were like me and when you wanted your first camera, you wanted to do everything. So I did my little bit of research and I first bought the Canon T7i. I knew I wanted a flip out screen, which it had. It had a decent amount of megapixels. It had decent video specs. I think it shot up to 1080p still. And it had, 24 megapixels, which was great in low light. And yes, it was a beginner camera, but for the price, you couldn't really beat what it had to offer. Now the problem is, and if you want to consider it to be a problem, was that I got really good at my craft. Everyone encouraged me, they loved what I did, and now I can foresee myself doing more and more of this in the future, maybe even making a career out of it. Well, so now I'm considering of getting a new camera, something bigger and better. And these are the methods that I thought about when deciding on what camera to get. So I did my research, and budgeting wasn't really a factor, but more so along the lines of what does this camera have to justify its price to me. So I went with the Canon EOS R, in which I'm using right now to film this. And it has, for the price, I think it was $1,900-ish on Amazon about a year ago. Let's see, when did I get it? It was like beginning of 2020. So it's been over a year now. And yeah, for the price, it had decent specs as 30 megapixels. Not the best in low light, but I don't do a whole lot of night photography as it is. It has the flip out screen, so that was cool. It's mirrorless, it's compact, good for vlogging, it has decent video features. I mean, it seemed to have it all. And personally, if anyone were to ask me what camera they should get, immediately I'm gonna say, hey, I use this, the EOS R, and if you got the budget for it, I highly recommend it. But again, I'm not a professional photographer. You should consider things that might be right for you within your price points, whatever it is that you want in a camera. So I hope I at least helped, I don't know, one person with this video on figuring out what kind of camera they should get, whether you're looking for Sony, Canon, Nikon. All these brands, they offer great cameras nowadays, and I can't honestly say there's one bad camera. So there you go, guys. Again, like I said, I hope that helps. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let me know down in the comments what you want to see next. Give me some suggestions. Again, maybe the camera basics video? I don't know, that sounds pretty good. But yeah, take care, guys. Thanks for joining me today, and I will see you in the next one.